Caring communication, communicating under stress. Some days may be a juggling act of responsibility. I know I have wished I could grow more arms or even duplicate myself. As donor ambassadors or Red Cross volunteers, you must always stay professional. When you feel heightened by challenging situations, it can be difficult to stay calm and communicate effectively. Thankfully, there are ways to manage those feelings and speak up and listen. In this caring communications training, we are going to teach you some skills to improve how you manage these situations. Stress can be defined as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult or different situation. Stress is a natural human response that prompts us to address challenges and threats in our lives. Everyone experiences stress to some degree. Stress can be good and exciting, like a new beginning, or it can be bad and more of an obstacle. Being able to identify that, although good or bad, life situations can be a stressor to some degree. At this point, we're going to ask for you to share us in the chat box or by coming off mute some frequent stressors that you may have in your day-to-day lives.
For me, it's the death. Oh, chatbot. Sorry.
Oh, no, you can go ahead and come off mute too.
Yeah. Well, for me, two things: recovering from surgery and ACL repair, and although I'm doing great and 5 months out, so doing great. And for me, my mom also passed away just before Christmas. So stressors, those are two big ones. And then, yeah, just health. Family members who are struggling with health issues. So
Wow.
yeah, lots going on, but keeping a positive outlook and lots of family support, friend support. Um, so coping, let's just say coping well.
Well, good thing is this module might help you today.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Thank you so much for sharing those. Does anyone else want to come off mute before I read some more in the chat? So I saw quite a few in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and pop over there. So I see commuting, that is a stressor, schedules of activities, finances, work, more work. Oh, Jeff said that he's retired now, but he was a correctional officer for 18 years. That does seem like a very stressful job. Traffic, the news, being a parent, time management, health, scheduling activities, not overcommitting, health issues, learning materials for classes, news. Kathleen says she's retired now, so she can't complain. Severe weather on the Central Coast. Yeah, that's always a stress. Preparing for med school, thinking about med school, and remembering everything for med school. I think med school is a stressor. Family health issues, family members dealing with recent cancer diagnosis, forgetting things, being a single dog mom of 2 fur babies and 2 additional foster fur babies. Family care, math homework, college intro to math concepts, death in the family and an ill mother, our children, and more scheduling. So as many of you have shared, there are many outside factors that impact us and our emotions and our moods. So it can be relational, like friends, families, kids, and pets. It can be personal, like housing, school, work, money, or health. It can be transportational, like buses, cars, traffic, and maintenance. It could be committal, like travel, chores, or even volunteering. Like many of us, these things can start running together. Maybe you wake up and you aren't feeling the best, but you still have a deadline. Maybe you leave with just enough time to get somewhere, but then there's traffic, or my personal, favorite, I need to get gas. Maybe you just forgot to put laundry in, but you have to get to an appointment. Maybe buses are running late and you have to get home to let your dog out. Maybe, just maybe, you are human, and sometimes the smallest of things can really make an impact on the flow or course of the day. It can make you feel rushed, anxious, and excited in some way. So let's take our focus back to volunteering. And what are some stressors that you might have experienced as a volunteer at one of our life-saving drives? What are some obstacles or things out of your control that can impact you as a volunteer? Now, again, feel free to come off mute or type your answers into the chat box. What are some things that you've seen that can cause a stressor? I think we have some coming through already. Long wait times. Drug and alcohol impaired clients. Lene, we shouldn't have any of those. Oh, just kidding. Disaster. Communication, late setup, when donors have reactions that can be very stressful. Donors coming in late but expecting to be taken care of right away. Having to turn away walk-ins. Oh, make sure I'm reading all of these. Donors waiting for too long, unreasonable requests to follow the rules. Walk-in time management, donors saying why did I make an appointment when I have to wait? Donors that can't donate that day, being understaffed, random people showing up. Okay, homeless people showing up and expecting money for blood and free food. Okay. Donors adversely affected by the donation process. And wow, you guys had a lot of stress at your blood drive. When donors are impatient with you, new first-time donors, learning the ins and outs of the donor ambassador responsibilities, and trying to donate myself and the only ambassador on shift, unable to accommodate a possible donor as a walk-in, and we can't take. Yeah. And then more being understaffed. So you all had some great examples. You know, some others might include, or you might have mentioned, you know, technical difficulties. Maybe the computer died or wasn't plugged in, or maybe the drive is delayed because of equipment. Managing the flow, you know, walk-ins and those late arrivals are always complicated. You guys did mention those. Donor complaints. I would say pre-donation and post-donation, those can be pretty hard. Long wait times, staff to donor ratio during lunch and breaks or even call-outs. Parking in some of our more populated areas, you know, for you and the donors needing to park far away or lack of parking. You know, one of my favorites as a donor ambassador was opposition to reading materials. I mean, who hasn't heard, oh, I did or read that last time from a disgruntled donor that didn't want to do it again? You know, these are all things that may happen every day, but can cause some excitement, whether good or bad, when they do happen. These things might cause us and our donors to be unhappy. Now, we did learn in our Reframing with Empathy module from October how to reframe our thinking and put ourselves in our donors' shoes. Understanding that when our donors who arrive are getting ready to leave who appear not so happy, that sometimes we have to give them a little extra care. This module is more tuned into giving care to you and understanding that we all may have reached that breaking point. Understanding that we may have an entire day of stress prior to that one little computer not turning on, and that today it's going to affect us differently. And today we need to better skills because our bucket is full and ready to tip over. Stress leads to difficult emotions that causes poor communication. Stress can greatly impact our moods and outlook, causing us to act poorly. We can display as abrupt anger, emotional crying, physically feeling ill like headaches and feeling nauseous. All of our buckets feel differently, and it is important for us to learn how to manage our emotions to the best of ourselves. Implementing the skills we will learn today and applying them in our day to day lives will help us to remain calm during those times of stress overload. It is great to remember to learn, practice, and improve. I'd like to first start off with saying that balancing communication is key. One great way to managing conversations under stress is utilizing heart messages. Connecting head to heart is proven to balance communications in a 2-to-1 ratio and provides a listening environment while also sticking to the facts. It's a great way to acknowledge the situation in front of you and blocking the stressors that have caused strain to our emotional well being. It involves you listening to the donors and being receptive to what they are feeling and what they are asking. Diverting our focus to them and the current situation can really help us remain in an appropriate mind frame. Start with a positive message. Provide only the facts, and ending with a positive message will help you be successful in projecting that you care about them and this is your focus. All right, Helen, go ahead and take it away.
So we're going to have an opportunity to put the heart, head, heart method into action. So let's review this informational diagram. Address the heart first.
Sorry, Helen, I was muting some people. I accidentally muted you. Can you start over the slide?
We are going to have an opportunity to put the heart, head, heart method into action. So let's review this informational diagram. Address the heart first. Address the person's feelings. An example is saying, "This must be hard for you." This first step shows caring and helps gain trust. Then use your head to meet the needs for action and information. You can state, "Here's what I'll do." This middle step gives out important information. Lastly, the heart again. Close on a personal or feeling note. A good general statement might be, "Thanks for understanding. I appreciate it." This last step reinforces caring and the overall message. You can think of it as a heart, head, heart sandwich. When stress is high, good, effective communication is one of the first things that can be lost. This can lead to misunderstandings. The 3 principles for effective communication in stressful situations are speaking carefully, listening attentively, and responding accurately. Let's review each step. Speak carefully. Be specific. Listeners are not mind readers, so define the problem or name the feeling. Others likely won't know what you want or feel if you leave them guessing. Listen attentively. Stay focused. Discuss only the issue at hand. Getting off track or bringing up old issues is confusing. Listen with empathy. Seek to put yourself into the speaker's shoes. Try to understand their perspective. You don't have to agree with the other point of view to understand or empathize with it. Listen without interrupting. Sometimes it's necessary to stop talking to hear all of the words. Concentrate on the words and pay attention to nonverbal gestures. Respond accurately. Get all the facts. Listen carefully until you understand what is being said. Ask the speaker to clarify anything that you don't understand. Too many questions can be overwhelming. Check your interpretations. The goal of communication is to understand. Listeners interpret what is being said, so check with the speaker to be sure that what you hear is what the speaker meant. Ask the speaker if your perspective is accurate. For example, you can say, "So you mean ... or did you say ... Recognize emotions. You can say, "I understand why you feel that way." Acknowledge and accepting the speaker's feeling does not mean that you agree with them. Listen to yourself. Make a conscious effort to hear how you speak. Do you have a positive attitude What is your tone of voice? And sometimes just silence can be golden. So we're going to think about some situations, special situations that we can encounter on shifts and how we can or have reacted utilizing this heart, head, heart method we just learned. Please feel free to chime in or get off mute and put a response in the chat. Our first question is turning donors away. I know we've all had to do that, and it's a very, very difficult part of being a donor ambassador. So you all have a lot of practice, and I would love to hear what your method is. Hopefully you do utilize already that sort of heart, head, heart method. And if you don't, try to reframe what you usually say and put it into the heart, head, heart method. So what do you say when you need to tell a donor they cannot donate? So give you some time. You can throw something in the chat, come off mute.
So we do have something in the chat from Barbara. And for those of you that want to come off mute and share some experiences using those heart, head, heart messages, feel free to raise your hands and I can call on you. So Barbara said, we appreciate you coming in today. At this time, we are completely booked. Can I schedule you for another drive? And Elaine had put that we had a great turnout today. So many turned out and I don't have any openings for walk-ins. That's a great spin. I'm sorry we're not taking walk-ins today. And then Beth said, we appreciate you coming in. If you really would like to donate today, please go to the app and see if there is another drive nearby. And then Kathleen said, I am sorry you can't give at this time, but I can assist you with rescheduling. And Joseph said, I haven't had
That's
this
supposed to be
experience
can.
yet.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I
Yeah, it's
can
supposed to be-
assist you.
It's supposed to be Ken. I'm sorry.
I think we took it as can.
Oops.
And Janine said, thank you for coming in today. It looks like we don't have time today. Can I show you how to reschedule? That's great, Janine. Annie had another one. It said, thank you for wanting to save a life today. Sorry we can't take you, but would you like to schedule your next visit? We have another one. I'm so sorry. We have so many donors today that we can't take a walk-in. Oh, it went away. But thank you so much for coming in. And Elaine also said, I wish that we could post signs on the door saying that we do or don't take walk-ins. Elaine, I will say that this is something that does change per drive. So there's so many factors sometimes that impact if we're able to take those walk-ins. One of the things that we've seen pretty predominantly since COVID has been low staff. And so blood drives can still run with a low staff to donor projection, but they aren't able to accommodate those specific walk-ins. One thing that I do always express to my donor ambassadors when experiencing this is check with your charge. Check in with your staff at the day of each drive and ask them in the beginning on if we're able to accommodate them. Also, during times of lunches and breaks, we are shorter staffed. So maybe find out when that time period is so that you might be able to instruct donors that come in during that time that they might be able to return closer to 2 o'clock when those lunches and breaks are open, are over so that we can accommodate them. Because sometimes they're only not accommodating for a certain window. And then Sun says, thanks for your interest, but we don't have any open slots today, but it's really awesome that you're willing to donate and maybe you can sign up for our next blood drive.
Those are great. Thank you so much for sharing. I do hear a lot of heart, head, heart there. So we'll move on to our next scenario, the upset donor. So how do you respond when a donor is upset due to a long wait time? I know I heard that come up before. So what do you say? How do you respond to that sort of situation? Please feel free to come off mute, put something in the chat. You all have experience dealing with that, maybe even dealing with a donor that walks out the door because of that.
Christina put in the chat, if it is business, I offer to text them. Oh, I like this one. Oh, sorry. As they come through, sometimes the chat box goes up. So if it is business, I offer to text them when they are next in line so they don't have to wait. That is a really good problem-solving technique, Christina. Beth says, usually it is due to staffing. So I'll mention that the staff is working as quickly as possible and we really appreciate you waiting. And Annie said, I understand that your time is precious. I apologize for your wait time. Would you like some water? I love that. I give them something else to think about, right? I would
Yes,
go
some excellent
over.
water.
Yeah. Kathleen says that she goes over to the lead person and sees how much longer the person needs to be waiting before seeing them. Then I would report back to the donor and give her that information. Offer a drink from the canteen and apologize for them having to wait. Yeah. I'm sorry, let me see if I can get a time frame from the nurse or bring the head nurse out to explain. I like that, Veronica, because it does show that we can take an initiative and that it brings another person into the conversation as well. And Barbara shared, I'm sorry for the long wait times. There are unforeseen issues. Can I help to reschedule you? And then Janine says, I'm sorry for your wait. Please reschedule at your earliest convenience. And it says, I've noticed you've been waiting a while. Let me check with the staff and see how long before you will be started. Acknowledge and tell the donor that I'll check with the medical staff and get more accurate wait times that we understand if they can't wait longer. This is really great when you guys start to involve the staff in these conversations, right? Because sometimes we don't have the answers and it's good to have that backup and the support of the staff as well. And then
Yeah,
Greg
definitely.
said, yeah.
And it could, deflect, any anger, which you don't need to deal with as a volunteer to a paid staff member.
Yeah. Oh, Greg offers one that we haven't heard yet. So he responds by letting them know that they are appreciated, but then he offers suggestions on the best appointment times in the future to avoid the long wait times.
That's cool.
So Dominique says, if the schedule is tight, perhaps you can provide another time slot today or at another drive. That is true. Sometimes that is possible. Terry says, so very sorry for the wait. I know your time is precious and we appreciate your patience. Would you like a snack while you wait? Then just a couple more.
Okay.
Try to ask them about what inspires them to donate, start conversations to help pass the time. And then, of course, that is great. I love to distract people too, Caitlin. And Elaine says, I understand that you are upset due to the long wait time. I apologize. To have you wait so long, your time as well as your donation is very valuable. We have low staff levels today. If you would like to reschedule, I can help you with that.
Excellent.
Great. And then Greg also provided some staff do not want to talk to the donors in the waiting room. We have to do it. Yeah. Well, I mean, especially in terms of long wait time, Greg, I think their important role is getting those donors through, right?
Yeah, that's true. You're right there.
Yeah, we do want them to not necessarily take time to do things that we can do. So that's one thing that we can do is keep the donors distracted and happy. So Rhonda, who is my supervisor, she did say that if you notice the wait times are long, let them know when they arrive. And this may prevent them from getting upset and they can decide if they want to wait or reschedule beforehand.
Absolutely.
That's great information. Thank you, Rhonda, for providing that for us. All right. I think we're pretty much good to go there. Go ahead, Helen.
Excellent. So we're going to move on to rude staff. Hopefully you don't deal with this very often, but in my experience, it has happened before. So what do you say to a staff member that has been rude to you or a donor? Or what would you say? Hopefully you haven't had this experience personally, but maybe if you did, perhaps if a staff member was commenting that you weren't processing people in a timely manner or something, being a little patronizing, how might you address the staff member? Or if you
So,
saw a staff member be rude to a donor.
so we do have something in the chat box from Barbara. She says, I would not talk back to the staff. I would just inform my supervisor. So that is a really great tool that we have. Your guys' volunteer engagement representatives are definitely there to be your voice to avoid those confrontations at drives. So if you're noticing that there is a difficult situation, feel free to pick up the phone, step away, and give us a call so that we can help manage those for you.
Mm-hmm. But I do want you to feel comfortable in certain situations. Let's say here in Southern California, we have a lot of bloodmobile drives. Sometimes our volunteers aren't provided with shade, and they're looking for you to speak up and let them know. It's not really a form of them being rude, but it's just maybe a little lack of empathy that they might leave a volunteer in the sun. So it's okay to speak up when you need your needs met. And just keep in mind those hard sandwiches, and make sure that whatever you're saying is both productive but also kind.
Yeah. And Lane had put, pull them aside where the conversation won't be overheard. That is really important, especially if it's not necessarily a comfortable conversation so that other people can't hear you, like donors, and ask to check something out with them. And then James says, ask if they're okay. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jenny says, I would tell my supervisor never to confront the medical staff. So you guys should be comfortable contacting your charges. If you're noticing that there is a complication with a staff, you should be able to have these conversations with charges. If you're noticing that it is a charge that is being the complication or obstacle, reach out to your volunteer engagement reps too, so that they, again, can help foster those relationships and maybe even make that drive comfortable for you. And then we have Annie. It says, hi, I noticed you're a little stressed today. What can I do to help you? I love that.
Checking
Christina
in.
says, I stay polite and pleasant and try not to take another shift with that person. Oh, Christina. You know, there is one thing I would say is that sometimes all of us do not have our best self days. And sometimes, even if it's the first impression, that may not be the impression of that person. It's always great to loop in your engagement reps again, just so we can foster those relationships in real time so that the mood for the drive can change. Sometimes when people are focused on other things, they're not being the most polite. And we do want those things addressed so that you don't feel that way, that you can't take a shift with that person again. And then Greg says, I go to another staff member. There are a few staff I have met with that are rude quite often.
Sorry to hear that.
We have another one, and it says, may I speak to you for a moment? Move to a private space at the appropriate time and discuss your concerns using heart, head, heart. Love that. And it says, all you can do is apologize and tries to ease the donors unhappiness. That is true. And this happened to me on Wednesday. I tried to get her to work with me since the donor schedule was so messed up. She insisted to do it her way. So I just left her alone. But when the donor complained, I got her to explain why the schedule was running late instead of getting me bombarded. And then just a couple more, and then we're going to go ahead and move on. It says, I would like to talk to the staff after the drive is over so that the donor isn't around. Yep, that's true. And then Janine says, I'm sorry, it sounds like, can I lend a listening ear? I do like that, listening ear. Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to taking care of you. In stressful situations, one of the best ways to put yourself into the right space is by pausing to take a few deep breaths. Deep breathing slows down the heart rate and lowers blood pressure. Your mind gets a break from worries and work when you focus on breathing. Breathing is recentering and it helps us regain calm and focus in stressful situations. You can use the power of your breath to help calm feelings of anxiety or stress. Box breathing is a simple and quick relaxation technique that can help you reset your breath in return to its normal rhythm, even when dealing with a difficult donor. Let's give it a try right now. This exercise, you are going to let your breath flow as deeply down into your belly as comfortable without forcing it. Try breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a deep breath through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for a quick count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause for a count of 4. You may choose to repeat this for a few cycles in pattern of 2 more times. As you continue to breathe deeply, you can silently say a peaceful mantra like breathing in peace and calm on the inhale, and on the exhale, breathing out worry and tension. This only takes a few seconds, and it can be done anywhere at any time. So don't forget to use the power of your breath. It's always with you. I hope you'll give this a try next time you're in a stressful situation. Let's go back to Rebecca for some useful resources.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so some additional resources. Percipio is offered to all volunteers and staff members. Percipio is one of our learning community websites that you guys do have access to. I did pick out a few stress modules that will also help to elaborate on some of these skills for us. You can access Percipio from your Volunteer Connection homepage by going to Volunteer Connection, logging in, accessing My NHQ, volunteer policies, training and hours, and then training information, and then the personal development for all volunteers. And there are some pictures on the slide as well. Or you can just go to your Volunteer Connection homepage, access your Edge tile. It's under your picture, and then you'll be able to access the Percipio tile from there. You'll be able to search for changing perceptions to reduce stress and controlling conflict, stress, and time and customer service as well. For some additional tips and tricks. And then thank you all so much for coming today. I do want to announce that we are going to have Caring Communication again in April. This is bi-monthly training. Our April is going to be a volunteer superhero training where we are going to learn the power of visibility by turning compassion into action. We are going to host these on Friday, April 19th at 12:30. And we will also have our second viewing on Tuesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. James, you have a question? Go ahead and come off mute.
Yeah, just quick question. Do we have to track our hours or go back in and book our hours for this, or will this automatically show up since we scheduled the class?
So for all of you that have registered online, once we review the participants today, we will be able to log those hours for you using that online system. For those of you that are not registered online, we will log them for you to the best of our abilities. So sometimes people might sign in just using James without the last name. That makes it a little bit difficult to log those. So keep that in mind when signing into these meetings, to at least use the last initial. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording really quickly, and then we can have some free conversation.